Good morning, everybody. Hello, how are you? Okie dokie. So, welcome to Inkables Day. Hopefully not our first, well, no, it is our first Inkables Day. Hopefully not our last Inkables Day. Because this is a very exciting thing. Okay. So, as usual, I'm going to get the comments up and going on the live, and then we're going to get talking about Inkables. Alright. Are we all having a good morning so far? It's a beautiful sunny day, I have to say. Much contrast to yesterday, especially from, Then there you go. So Sammy's here, Sharon's here, Moira's here. Hi. Sue's here. Okay. So how are we doing? Are we good? Kim, hi. I was going to say, if Liz is here, okay, if we can share the live, I would greatly appreciate it. It's not letting me on my phone, so I can't even share it to my own timeline. So what does that tell you? Right. So, thank you for joining me this morning. Today we are talking about Bee Crafty Inkables. Now, I know a lot of you have Inkables or you've seen the Inkables before, but for those of you that haven't, let's give it a quick run through. Okay, so the Bee Crafty Inkables are our very own range of Mylar templates and stencils. There's masks in there as well. And we have, from the very beginning of doing our own templates, we have used a heavier weight Mylar. Okay, the reason we like hello Maria, the reason we like to use our heavily weight Mylar is because if you're using texture paste, if you are going through, if you're embossing with your caliber, big shot or whatever, it gives you that really good dimension, which is what you're looking for if you are embossing. Okay, what you want is that dimension. So it's really important to us to use a high quality, good Mylar for that, which is laser cut by my dad, Billy Whiz. Okay, so we've got a lot of Inkables now. We originally started with the 6x6. Now I think I counted the other day, and there are now in excess of 70. See, now I can't remember. Just 6x6 Inkables on their own. Okay. And so in there we have a massive range. They're in alphabetical order of what we've called them, but so for example, you should find all the star stuff together, you should find all the heart stuff together in the 6x6s. But this is just some examples that Sam put together on a book ring for me to show you. There's 85, there you go, there's 85 6x6 Inkables, okay? And the funny thing is, we've got loads of ideas for more. So we've got, so there's 85 6x6 Inkables. Alright, but just to give you an example, we've got the scales, we've got the perspective dots. Sammy loves that one. Metalwork Alpha, an original but still a fave, so we keep that one going. The flowers multi. This is actually really good for embossing glaze because it's big open space, so you can still see any stamped images underneath. But you've got that for your translucent powders, which is great. The filigree, awesome for doodling through. Dripping paint, dots, compass, another compass. That's compass. That's the compass, and that's compass 2. Okay. Then we have the Dahlia, really, really popular. Okay, and then the second range to be added to our Inkables range was the Dinkables, and these were actually an idea created by Billy himself. Okay, so these were the they started off with some designs that are available in the Inkables, but smaller. Okay. Because if you are, for example, two things. One pen, it's a million things. If you are crafting on a budget, this gives you sort of 5 designs for a lower price mark, okay? Because each set, so this is Thinkable set 3, again, a total fave. But Thinkable set 3 is one of those different ones because it's actually 6 pieces, because you've got the innie and outie of that mask, okay? You've got the paint spatter, you've got the cracked glass. Some of the Dinkable sets are on a theme, some of them are just designs we've put together, okay? So you've got those here. So the Dinkable set, so that's like 5, so you get the 5 different ones. If you're on a lower budget, or you've got, if say you're crafting a really small space, or when you're crafting, you only use small bits of templates and stencils. So the Dinkables work really well with that. Okay. Also in the Dinkables range, we have the texture discs. Okay. Again, these are, you know, really, really good. You get the 5 designs. You get a book ring to hold them on, because these also have a little hole. And they're good. Lots of different geometric patterns in those as well to add to your things. And then the most recent set we have is the tag set. So we have sets 1, 2 and 3, and there's a bundle in there. Now, I'm sure what some of you are actually waiting for me to tell you is what are the deals for the day. Okay, we haven't got to the Skylines yet either, and I'll tell you for why. Oh, hello, Luce. Luce is coming late at my feet. The reason we haven't got to the Skylines yet is because I didn't get them out of the box, but that's okay. So we'll come back to the Skylines in a bit. So the Skylines are also available today, and they are really good for these. I like to put behind things like the journaling girls and things like that. But in all honesty, like a lot of the stuff in our stash, sometimes I forget about them, and then I have to come back. So you have the innies and outies of different Skylines. Okay, so you can build up scenes and backgrounds. Okay, so like I say, I'm sure, and oh, hang on, I haven't spoken about the big ones either, all the easy frames. So we've got the easy frames where we do, so you can create coloured shapes for which are great for backgrounds or building up texture. We've got hexagons, circles, squares, which is really useful. Don't overlook it. Stars. We now have bird, and we have lots of leaves and all this sort of thing. Really, really handy. And of course we have the fantastic big ones, which are really, really popular all the time. I know one of you guys' favourites is the abstract circle. And again, these were designed just so we could stretch the pattern out a little bit further, which is really good for your journals. Right, okay. I say that one's the favourite, and then I just saw the jungle leaves. Oh, and in fairness, the eclipse trellis. Anyway, you get the gist. Alrighty. So the offers for today, and Sam will try and do these links for you, but I can see she's already put some up. Those offers are already on, okay? We have 25% off. Basically, any of the Inkables that are available individually are 25% off, okay? So you're talking about the 6x6, we're talking about the big ones, we're talking about the Skylines, and we're talking about the easy frames that I just showed you. All of those are 25% off for today, and that's if you buy one or whatever. 25%. And don't forget the Bakewell. I know, but my Bakewell's really dirty and Dad will tell me off. So they're 25% off. Alright. Your sets, okay? So your tag sets, your circles, your texture discs, your Dinkable sets, they are 30% off. Okay? And then we have some other things, because Inkables are fantastic, but obviously you need your things to go through them. So Sam and I, me and Sam, just the two of us, were up last night, and seriously, the kids are at youth club, and we're in the shop unit. So we are up there, and we have gone through and done some offers for you. So the Dina Wakley Heavy Body Acrylic is 50% off. Okay, I have to say I've gone in with the big one. Okay, because this is the big one, because they are to clear as well. So once they're gone, we're not having any more of these. Okay, don't think that's because they're not awesome. They're absolutely awesome. They're just not a massive seller for us, and we need the space because we have a small space. Okay, 50% off for those. Okay, the Dina Wakley gloss sprays. No, so the rest of these deals are just because, you know, we wanted to do something nice. Because these will be staying. The gloss sprays, if you buy 6, you get 10% off. Okay, the embossing glazes that I did a live on, was it last week or the week before? Buy 6, 10% off. And another one that we've added in, because they're so lush, and I've got a few new ones of these to play with, so we will have a look at these, is the Stickles Glitter Gel. Okay, they are 6 and get 10% off. Okay, so lots to be having a play with and all this sort of thing. So like I say, but for your Inkables, if it's an individual Inkable, it's 25% off. And if it's in a set, they are 30% off. Alright, so I do have an idea of a project I want to complete this morning, but before we get really into that, is there any specific Inkables that you're like, do you know what? I want to see them first. If not, I will start at the beginning and I'm going to work my way through. I'm just going to give you a moment, because that was a lot of information in 10 minutes, wasn't it? It was quite a lot. I went to town. But yeah. But like I say, all the Inkables are that 350 micron weight mylar, so that you can get really good dimension when you're embossing and things like that. Now, funnily enough, when we first started designing Inkables and we wanted to do our own templates, I actually wanted to call them Spritzables, because at the time I had really just started getting into art journaling and I was using Delusions ink spray all the time, so I wanted to call them Spritzables. And Mum was like, well, yeah, but not everyone wants to use spray ink through them. And it was at that point I realised, we were like, well, what else can we use them for? And we went through and we found all these different techniques, lots of which are going to be covered throughout the day by me, Sam, our fantastic creative team. And you know, and you know what I mean? And then we sort of just started exploring more and more and more. And I have to say, speaking of our fantastic creative team, they have put on a massive amount of samples using the Inkables over the last few days. And you'll see, for example, Sue has absolutely loved it. And she said what she's enjoyed the most is seeing how she's been able to take them from a thing she used for backgrounds and turned them into the focal part of her project, and I think that really works. Right, so I'll tell you what, let's just get some card and a few Inkables, and let's start having a play. Okay, so I'm gonna grab me, do you know what, I'm gonna grab me a stack of my cheapy watercolor card that I generally keep a stack of papery stuff. It's actually quite light. I've got the lovely Talon's watercolour books and this sort of thing as well. But they're generally not for playing. They're generally for, you know, if I'm actually doing a project. But this is brilliant for things. So, you know, we're also we're not precious. We know that, you know, it's not always possible to use your best paper and cardstock for everything. So we also want to show you that you can get good results with the best cardstock that you can afford with your Inkables. Okay, now I want to apologise right now. I did do a list of Inkables. I did like an Excel spreadsheet, but it wouldn't save into a PDF, so I haven't been able to upload it. But what I will do is I will get onto the Bee Crafty Stamps group in the next couple of days. So if you want to, so make sure you do join the Bee Crafty Stamps group, because I'm going to be putting in some basically lists there that you can download and tick off so you can see where the gaps are. All right, because I know a lot of us, we do sort of repeats. We repeat purchase, don't we? And then we're like, oh, I've got another one of them and all this sort of thing. So, you know, I will get that for you because I know it'll make your life easier. All right. So I'm just going to grab, to tell you what, do you know what? I'm going to grab this one, and I'll tell you for why. This is one of our original 6x6 Inkables. This is the Circle Lattice. Okay, it's absolutely beautiful. But it's one of those, because it's just sort of like a regular pattern, it is one of those that I feel gets overlooked sometimes. And you shouldn't, because it's absolutely stunning. Okay, so we're going to go into this corner here. I'll tell you what, I've got some inks on here that I was using in my live yesterday. They haven't made it back onto their shelf yet. So we're going to use some of these together so that you can see this. Okay. No, ladies, it's definitely not just you that repeats. I repeat all the time. I actually have 3 open, for example. I'm just looking now. 3 open laid back lilac dilution sprays. 3. And I've opened them. So, you know. Right. So, this is one of the things I do most with my Inkables. Okay, I pick a couple of colours, 2 or 3. And we're just going to go in. So this is the new saltwater taffy. I opened it for the first time yesterday. I think it was Sue that was laughing at me. She was like, oh, after all the fuss you made about Sam getting it first. Yes, I've been very busy and I haven't had time to use it. Oh, this is an offer I didn't tell you about. We have also we're doing 10 of the full-sized ink pads, and you get 10% off. But they don't have to just be on oxides. If you want to mix say get 5 oxides and 5 of your regular distress ink, you'll still get that 10% off. Okay? Right. So then we'll go to the Fossilized Amber. And we're going to work that in and around. And I think as well, if you are nervous about blending and not getting the blend perfect, a template, so using your Inkable to do that, okay, it means you don't have to worry about getting the perfect edge, because when you lift it off, because the template creates such a good focus, the focus isn't on where, for example, your saltwater taffy meets your fossilized amber. It sort of all works together. Yeah? So it means it's just it gives it a more gentle look. Okay, but another thing is you've got your ink on here. So another thing you can do with your Inkables is you can ink your Inkable, okay, then using your distress sprayer or mister, okay, you then spray that, the leftover ink, and then onto there. And then you get, what's particularly lovely about this one, I probably should have pressed that on a bit harder, but what I love about this one in particular, okay, I'm just going to heat set this just a second. Okay, is if you look, it almost outlines those circles. So if you wanted to, you could go in and you could doodle inside them if you wanted to, or you could add in extra details, or you could just use it as a really subtle background. Okay? So it's just another one of those things. Right, so that's a 6x6. Next, we're going to grab, I've got to have more Skylines. Where are my other Skylines? I'm missing some of my outies from my Skylines, but that's okay. Imagine that with a fine liner. Exactly. That is called the Circle Lattice, Laura. Alright? But like I said, I would love to go through every single Inkable with you. But in fairness, even if I stayed online from now solidly until 8 o'clock tonight, we would struggle to get through every single one. With there being 85, Sam says. So, here we go. Actually, we're going to do texture discs next, okay? So here are your texture discs. Mine are all mixed up, I'm sorry to say, and that is primarily because I robbed the book rings to use them for something else. Which you can do. That's totally your prerogative. Alright? But what we wanted to do with the offers today, for example, the reason we haven't done multi-buy offers on the 6x6 Inkables and things like that, is because, you know, we appreciate you guys all the time, and we know not everybody has a massive budget and whatever. So what we wanted to make sure is that if you wanted to support us today, for example, but you only had the budget for a couple, then you were still able to, you know, get the benefit of an offer. Okay. See, we're quite nice, really. Don't listen to what people say. All right. So for my texture discs, these are also great for layering up on your jelly plate and things like that. But what I'm going to do is we're going to go back to my roots, and we're going to use some regular distress ink. Okay, now I have the minis. I have the original 60 in minis. Now the reason I have all those in minis is mainly a storage thing. Some of the newer colours, because I'm an impatient person, I have bought those in the bigger ones in the Distress Ink. But on the whole, the minis work for me better in the terms of a storage way. So for example, this is... I have marked, in terms of sets, Sue, saying you've marked them with a Sharpie, I have done that for my tags. I have done that for my newest set. So, for example, that one's from set 1, that one's from set 3. But again, as you can see, I have robbed the book rings for something else. It's a compulsion problem, I tell you. All right. So, what we're going to do here is, I'm just going to show you with these. Now, the nice thing about these is, what Mum did with these is she gave them a more, a wider edge. Okay, and that's so if you wanted to add, for example, this, but you wanted to keep it clean edged, that's easier to do because you've got a slightly wider thing to go in. All right, so I'm going to use a blending tool and foam for this one. Like I said, I want to try and cover as many things as possible. And what shall we go with? Go with we'll go with a candied apple. Okay, so I'm just going into my ink like that. I'm going to go lightly at first, and then I'm going to press on. And then just blend out. Okay, and here you have two options. And by the way, you can totally stick these down. Okay. In fairness, you're laughing at me that there's a bee on them. Sam put all the bees on these. Because when we originally started going to Hochanda, the two of us, we both took a full kit. Yes, it was stupid. We totally agree. But we both used to take a full kit. So Sam went through and she put bees on all of mine, so we knew that if they were mine or not. Right. So here we go. So what you can do is, for example, that would give you a lovely hazy section if you wanted, okay? Because you just start in the middle and blend it out, so you've just got that beautiful, I mean, look at that. And this is why I would love to show you every single inkable. Do you know what? I am going to do that. I'm going to do it every single time. But that's going to take me some time, that is. And, yeah, the offers are for today, because it's Inkables Day, Sharon. And so, you know, you could just leave it like that. But what you can also do, and like I say, you can stick these down if it makes it easier for you. Right, I'm going to go in with a carved pumpkin. And this is ink, so I don't worry too much about the cross-contamination, really. And then I'm going to work my way... Oh, hello, I moved. From the outside now. Back in. And then when you lift it off, you have that circle is complete. I mean, that's quite a really good quilty look, isn't it? So these are the texture discs. Okay. Again, the reason these are texture discs is when the name usually comes to me from what I tend to use with them. For example, this is one of my favourite to use with texture paste. It's sort of like a little lattice, and it creates an absolutely beautiful effect. It's really, really pretty. Okay, so, and somebody was saying about Skylines. So Skylines, typically, I don't have the matching innie and outie. Skylines come in a range of different patterns. Okay, you generally get an innie and an out. No, you don't generally get. You do get an innie and an outie for each one. They've all got different names, so you can pick and choose. But what is also available in this area of the website are horizons. Okay, now horizons are these. Now there's two different horizons. There's horizon 1 and 2. And they have two different edges, but not those two because that's the same one. I told you I have multiples. Silly woman. Right. So horizon 1 and 2. And basically what these are for is to replicate the torn edge. Okay. Now the problem is when you're doing torn edges, I like to move my paper. I like to spritz and use spray inks as well as dry inks. And the problem is, if you're ripping paper for that every time, in fairness, even if you're using a blending tool or brush, you know, it can then wreck the edge. So if you want to use it again, and you end up ripping up loads and loads of pieces of paper, and that's not always viable, is it? So what I wanted to do is create these, and what that also means is you can reuse the edge, you can replicate it with if you want to, which works, you know, which is better, and it means you're not wasting loads of paper. So everyone's happy there. So what I will do with these, let's move on to something else. Let's go for some other colours. Let's go to our blues. Okay. And I'm going to grab a brush for the blues. Again, I'm going to use I think I'm going to use quite a big brush for these. Okay. Again, this is sort of like for a sideways technique, but I would go sideways, for example, if I wanted to do it that way. Just because it's easier to blend, or if you're left-handed, that way. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up from dark to light. Okay? But you can also mix in your other colours, you know, for a setting sun or something like that. So you could go with, actually, if I was to come back to, for example, the carved pumpkin we used earlier. Okay, so we could go with the carved pumpkin across here. Okay, and the beauty of it is we've made them that wide so that you can really use your blending tool across them. So that gives you that edge. Now, if you wanted to, obviously, you could go straight your blues into that and that will give you your sunrise effect. Okay, but if you wanted to build it up, okay, you can use the same colour again. I've just moved it along a bit, as you can see. And it creates this sort of, or you can flip it over. So you've got a couple of different options, even from the one horizon. So you can see it creates sort of like a mountainy range with the sun setting over it. Okay? So that's your horizons. That's really cool. But the thing is, you can do a similar thing with your skylines. So for example, if I take, you can do it in two separate ways. Because you have the mask and the template, you could use either or. Okay, so for example, if we take, so this is Westminster, for obvious reasons. I'm going to go in with something slightly darker. So if I go in with a chipped sapphire, so you can see that's giving you the shadow of the buildings. Okay, but if you wanted to create it so it's the sky behind the buildings, so they're the bit you can't see, in a way. Okay, see this is just a generic one, it's not supposed to be anywhere. You could then go for something maybe a bit lighter, or you can go in something like a lilac. Okay, and go over. Again, you could take these down if you're worried about holding them, just a speed thing, so it gives you that. But then you can start to layer them up. Okay, so you can put another one in there. put that one in there. So you can really sort of put together a complete cityscape of buildings and bring it forward. So there's lots of different ways of piecing these together and mix and matching your, for example, I didn't do a mask just on its own, did I really? So you can see. That you can piece together. And then of course if you wanted to go in and doodle those, you know, you've got that to go with. Okay. Oh, all my comments have just disappeared. Oh, there we go. So you can, and this is the thing, the Skylines, and this is something Sam and I take complete responsibility for. They're not something we have used a lot, in fairness, for quite a while, and they sort of get forgotten about. But Anne will not have that, you see, because Anne uses them quite a bit. So, you know, I will say, you know, Anne keeps us ticking over with the Skylines. Our creative team is so good. So yeah, you do have, so that's the Skylines. Okay, so now I have done texture discs, Skylines, 6x6. Okay, so it's got to be big ones next, hasn't it? It just totally has to be. Okay, but before, hang on, I've changed my mind again. Before we get to that, what I do want to show you, I've just dropped my drink I brought with me. Is obviously at the minute I'm showing you different ways of applying ink through your Inkables and Dinkables and Inkables and etc. and things like that. But you know, and I've talked about texture paste and embossing. Okay, but what is also an awesome thing to do with your Inkables is doodle through them. Okay, so this, for example, this is one of the 6x6 mandalas doodled through and then extra bit added in. Okay, so what I've done is I have got my, I think it's my Botanical Garden Inkable, which I'm currently now just looking for. Big one, which is this one here. Okay, so you can see that's it there on the outside, but the inside is done with mandala, and my mandalas folder I have to put somewhere else. I had it all together and then I start talking and moving stuff around and I don't know where I've put it. I hope that doesn't include the mandala I'm actually got for the demo I've got planned. This is why the despair of working with me in TV land, I tell you. Despair of me. No, I have found the mandala I'm going to use later, so that's fine. And then basically put the mandala over the top. But what I did was, I did make it easier. Okay, I did the mandala first, so I doodled all around it, which doesn't take as long as you think. It really, really doesn't. Okay, and then once that was in the middle, I put my big one over the top, right about where I wanted it, and then added in the extra doodles around it and just did some, because where I did my mandala, I did all the outside lines, so I didn't have to worry too much about meeting them up. But you can see, let me just hold this up just a second because I think it's easier. You can see, for example, where I've matched it up there. Okay, and it is one of those, I really like people to see that, you know, we sat there and we really worked out all the different things that you could do. Okay, and right, so that's the big ones. But the big ones are, I should grab some of my journals really, shouldn't I, and show you through those too. let's have a little look. So, for example, where we were talking about spritzing and then like a template that you've inked through, that's the abstract big ones there. That's texture paste through it there. Okay, let's have a little look what else we've got. That's texture paste through your regular dots, through your Dinkable. That's your botanical garden again. And that's been gessoed through and then painted over the top. So you see that's a really different look. Then these are Dinkables here, so we'll come back to those in a second. Okay, that is your Circle Lattice in the Dinkable. Remember I was saying the Dinkables were originally some of the original designs brought into that. That's your swirling circles. Really, really cool. I didn't use any templates on that one. And I know that because I only did it 2 days ago. You know, there's your perspective dots. Well, the beautiful thing about the perspective dots is it's larger dots in the middle and then they get smaller and smaller as it goes out, which is really, really cool. So that's obviously where I've spritzed a template that had some ink on it and just decided to put it in my journal ready for another time so I didn't waste the ink. So that's pretty good. I do that a lot. I regularly open journals and find templates in them and things like that. So it's just a case of using them, having fun with. That's the Bakewell there with the texture paste. And that's that one, the small texture disc where I said about I like using texture paste through it. That's sort of like a letter. That's there. Okay, can I show you more of my diary? I will absolutely do some more bullet journal stuff at some point, but not on Inkables Day because we're focusing. We're focusing. Serena, she says, as she has completely lost focus. What time is it? Oh, crikey. So the project I wanted to show you, that is now drastically under threat. All right. So the Stickles Gel that we were talking about earlier. Now, the Stickles Gel is really good. I actually quite like this through, I was going to show you through a bigger one, but I do like this through texture discs. Okay, it's a really good addition to journal pages and things like that. If you just want to add a little something, something. Okay, I should find a journal page that we can add something to. Well, that's one of the tags. That's the letter jumble. There's the abstract circles big one in the background there. Okay. Okay, I need something I can just add something to because I want you to see it on top of something. But it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. So with your Stickles Gel, something like this is really good to add to. All right. So these ones are new, so these have never been used before. Now, one of the questions I'm asked most frequently about glitter gel is why is it difficult? Slow down, Bev. Just slow down. Why is it different to Stickles? Okay, why is it not just a glue? Well, there's two things. It's in a gel, it's not a glue, okay? It's not going to stick stuff together. For example, if you are wanting to stick down sequins or things like that, you can use your Stickles for that because it's a glue, it's an adhesive. Okay, your gel is a little bit different. It moves slightly differently. You can see it's quite... Wee-yup. Okay. Now, because of that, it's able to hold the glitter suspended and larger pieces. Okay, so in your Stickles Glitter Gel, you will find you've got like little stars and things like that because it's able to suspend itself in the gel. Okay, the other thing with your glitter gel, which is something I love it for, is as an impatient crafter, is you can force dry it. Okay, so you can. It's actually on the tub that you can heat it with your heat tool. Okay, so what I do is I just work it into the circles here like this. Now you can obviously use this just freehand if you want, and the thing is that you can do that and get little stars and things out without creating any dimension at all. So that's why it's also quite fun. Okay, but I'm just going to work this into these circles here. And then lift that off. Okay. And you've got these lovely little gel sparkles that have got some little bits of dimension on and things like that. But like I say, what you can do it is a bit like glittery slime. That's pretty much, yeah. Okay, but like I say, the thing for me is that you can force it dry. Now, I am a very well known dryer of things you're not supposed to heat dry. For example, gloss sprays and things like that. You know, you're not supposed to. So when I'm doing that, if you're new to Bee Crafty, if I'm heating something dry that I'm not supposed to, I'll say I'm not heating it, I'm just encouraging it. But this says on the jar I'm allowed to heat it, so I'm heating it. Okay. And that gives you those lovely little gel dots that are immediately dry, which you don't really want to do with an adhesive, truth be told. Okay, so the Stickles Glitter Gel, absolutely beautiful. I mean, we can have another play with those if you like as well. These are the 3 newest colours, so that's, whoa, yeah. So that one's Aquarius. That one's Mars. I quite like that one because it's sort of like a red, but it's got goldy and like little blue flecks in it. So that one's very nice. And then we have the Medusa. And that's what I look like in the morning. Medusa. Not green and sparkly. I just mean like Medusa as in look at her and you'll turn to stone. Right. Okay. So those are the 3 newest glitter gels. But you can see they work really, really pretty through your Inkables, which is why we wanted to put them with a dealio on for Inkables Day. Right. Let's chuck them in there. And skadoosh, another piece of paper gone. I'm still going with the techniques, or did you actually want me to finish making something? Because I have started making something, so I can do it relatively quickly. Hey, I'm not in a hurry. Right, I'm not going anywhere. I'm really sorry if you are. Big one. Okay, so these are some of my favourite big ones. I'm actually just going to check. Because Sam put me these ones in just because I was suffering a temporary loss of my big ones folder. But I have found it, so that means they can remain clean. And we'll put them over there. Okay, so is it best to clean your stencil straight away when using the glitter gel? The glitter gel I found comes off okay either way, to be honest. It's not like when you're using gloss spray and stuff like that, where I would recommend you get as much off as you can straight away. But the problem is, as we have already witnessed this morning, I am not a prolific template cleaner. Okay, I actually have 2 Bakewells, which Sam has a bone of contention with because she doesn't even have one. I don't see how that's my issue. But I actually have 2 Bakewells because I totally, I didn't destroy it because I still use it. But let's just say it's got that much texture paste dried on it, it's now actually not suitable to use with ink. Because I wrecked it. So there you are. Okay. Actually, I'm going to grab my journal for this, because that will be easier. So, if I am working in... I did get myself fairly recently a nice new Delusions journal. If you are new to journaling, this is a really good journal for several reasons. One, it takes loads of mediums really well. The cardstock and it's brilliant. But also value-wise, because you get loads of pages. In terms of the number of pages, this has the most of any journal and things like that. So, you know, it's just good for that reason, if naught else. Right, let me grab a couple more spray inks. Lucy, I'm not letting you outside, so stop whimpering. I would argue there's a birdie in the garden she wants to go and have a row with. And I'm just not facilitating your shenanigans today. Right, so let's grab a few different Delusions ink sprays to go with our Inkables. Okay. You're hearing some new terms today. Ooh. I didn't say anything bad, did I? Because that's entirely possible. So, for example, something like your Inkables, they are much bigger, which means you can cover a much bigger space. So if you want to create a continuing pattern, you don't have to worry about matching it up, but obviously you can if you want to do total coverage. But I would recommend you do that with a blending tool or brush rather than with a spray, because it's easier to match up. This is the Delusions Creative Journal. Not this one specifically, but this is the very first art journal I ever owned. Okay, this was when art journaling just started to come onto the scene more accessibly. And like I say, it's really good value. I ripped the pages out of this because the cardstock's really good, and it's actually an inexpensive way to buy the cardstock. They're nice big pages. You have a pocket at the front. If you look, the book is actually, it's got a card cover, so the book is actually bound separately. Okay, and then you've got a pocket in there if you want to keep any things in and whatever. And it's just a really good cardstock. It's really forgiving. Okay, so honestly, if you don't know where to start, I know it looks quite big. There is smaller ones as well, but you know, I know it's quite big, but it's because the cardstock's so good. It's a great place to practice technique. I tend to use my Delusions journals as a place to practice, because it gives you a really good idea of what your mediums are capable of and things like that. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to just have a little bit of a spray up over this template. So this is your Eclipse Trellis. Okay, so I'm going to go in with some bubblegum pink and then some laid back lilac, and then also some Calypso teal. Then what else have we got here? We've got some London blue. Now, I will say if you worry about cast off or getting inky hands or things like that, I would always use your Delusion sprays in a box, as in put your projects in a box before you start spraying. I do not concern myself with such things. Okay, and then you can lift that off. Now you see you will get some pooling, and that's what you're going to get with spray inks, but what you also have is this beautiful doobery here. Okay, so I'm going to use that on exactly the same page. Okay, I'm going to get a mop-up sheet that I've used for mopping up before. Okay, so, and then I'm going to chuck that somewhere a bit further back. So you can see that's a whiter page. Sorry, I did forget to say that in your Delusions journal you have sort of like an off-white and a white. I'm just going to plonk that in there. So then when I've lost that later, you need to remember where I put it. And when I say later, I mean any time in the next 3 months. Right, and then we're going to heat, because we can, again, with these ink sprays, do these dry. And what that is with the one inkable there, then, so with your one big one, okay, you've created sort of like a multitude of texture. Because here you've got the coloured square eclipse, and here it's white with the coloured outline. But it mix and matches together because you've blended it across here. So you don't need to worry about that edge. It's about creating those things. That's where duplicates can be useful. I think that's why I have duplicates of a lot of my templates, Carol, because they're in journals. They're in other journals. I'll come across them at some point. In fairness, on my Try It Out Tuesdays, I've been doing lots of giveaways because I keep finding duplicates of things. So I've been giving them away. Right, so that's your eclipse. Right, now, I think I've actually used everything apart from a Dinkable. Okay? So we're going to save them for later. I think there's lots of plans using Dinkables. Sammy will use a Dinkable at 10 o'clock, okay? Because I actually want to make something. Because I've started making it and now I want to finish making it. Okay, so the thing with, when we're talking about all the things you can do with your Inkables, okay, bear in mind you can do all those things together. Or I didn't use an easy frame either, did I? I'm going to actually have to quickly use an easy frame. So your easy frames, like I say, they come in lots of standard shapes. We've got hearts, we've got leaves, we've got hexagons, octagons, circles, scallop circles, sunflowers, all that sort of thing. Oh, I've just found all my outies for my Skylines. They're in my easy frames. Marvellous. At least I haven't lost them. Alright, so the thing with your easy frames is they're excellent. And it came from something I was seeing online where people were doing these coloured centres for cards. And then either building around it or things like that. And that was great for people at the time that had the massive dies that they could put into their Grand Caliber or things like that. But again, if I'm using spray ink, even if I am lucky enough to have the dies of that sort of size, if I'm using spray ink, I use them once and then they're wet, so I have to cut another one. And it ends up building up. Now, your easy frames, on a normal day, your 6x6, you get the innie and the outie, by the way. So you get this, the circle that goes in here and the outer. On a normal day, are only $1.99. Okay? But today they're 25% off. So they're only £1.50. So do you know what I mean? They're an excellent thing. To use a word I love to use, they're a wonderful tool to have in your arsenal. I love the word arsenal. I think we all know why. Right, so for this one, I'm going to get a broken china and a blueprint sketch and a villainous potion. And again, so your distress oxides, actually $1.49 if we're getting technical. Using distress oxide. Sally, you love your large circle one. Do you know, Sally Holmes also loves her easy frames. She loves them. Your oxides and your distressings are a mix and match and get 10 and get 10% off. Okay. And I think they're pretty much all in stock, which is good. Right, so I need to change my brush for my blue brush. Where's my blue brush? Okay. So I'm going to go some broken china on the edge, and then I'm going to do some blueprint sketch, or your prize ribbon would look lovely here too. Okay, and then we're going to go with the villainous potion across the middle. Okay, now, so that gives you your beautiful circle. So what you can do with that, because all of your distress is reactive with water, this is something I used to demo like frequently at Ali Pally. If anyone ever came to see me, they'll testify. We're then going to drop and flick some water on top. Okay, because that's going to pull that water in and it's going to make it wick away from itself, basically, and draw it in. So then you get your painted towel or some kitchen towel. And you dab that off. So again, this is a way of creating sort of like splatty backgrounds without having to create that spritz or spray that a lot of people don't like. And then you've got that sort of ghosting from where the water's come up. Okay. But the good thing is, obviously, you can mix and match. And by that I mean, you could always... Go ahead, not in fairness, let's do something really weird. Go in with something like your jungle leaves. and spray. Lift that off, and then you start getting a jungle leaves pattern inside your circle. Okay? So now we're mixing technique and mixing your Inkables. Your Inkables do not have to work independently from each other. Okay? So you've got that. And then, okay, what you could do, and I would go in with I would put my circle over the top when I do this in order to keep the ink in the right place. We're going to put our perspective dots over, and then our circle easy frame. So this is a 6-inch. These are also available in 4-inch, by the way, and they're only normally £1.50, which would make them today cheaper than that. Right, so I'm going to go in with my Villainous Potion again. Which means we've then also got dots. But by putting the easy frame over the top, they've stayed within that circle. Alright? So this is the thing. Your easy frames are fantastic for creating this shape, okay? Whether it's a circle or a star or a heart or an octagon or whatever. But you can mix them up. And bearing in mind, we've talked about layering it up, but you don't need to have put anything down first. You can always just say, well, do you know what? I actually want... Again, we'll do jungle leaves again if you like. Again, I think I've got a dirty one, so I won't use that clean one. I only switched it with water. So, see, I'm mean to my jungle leaves. That's got texture paste on it. So if you're like, oh, do you know, I really like the jungle leaves effect, but I only want it actually in a circle. Okay, so I'm going to get my Rustic Wilderness. So you can tell I've lost my thread now because I've got overexcited. Right? But I only want a circle of it because I'm going to put some birds or whatever over the top. I'm going to go in with my Rustic Wilderness. Over my leaves. Put it darker in a few places just to create that sort of tone on tone. And then you lift it off. And you've got your jungle leaves. I wonder how long I'll keep going for. Literally ever. Right. that's a joke if you watch my lives. Literally ever. So you've got your jungle leaves in that circle. But not only that, okay, you also have your ink template in a circle. So again, you can take another piece of your cardstock. Great tip. Never thought of using it like that. Brilliant. That's what we're after. That's what Inkables Day's for. And then we're going to spray. I'm going to put it down. And then you've got a sort of watercolory circle with your jungle leaves. Now, come on, guys. That's pretty good. Okay? So again, from one inking, you've got two different... And this is one of these things. A lot of people obviously like to use jelly prints because it gives you a really good stash of backing papers. Okay? Which you are going to be showing today, jelly printing with your Inkables. But you can do that with Inkables, even without a jelly print. You can create a stash of different backgrounds, different card toppers, different bits to stick into your journals, different highlights. So, you know, it's just making sure that you don't forget. And I do this, by the way, all the different ways that you love to use Inkables. So let's put them to the side. Right, we are actually going to very quickly finish the project I wanted to show you. Right, so we're going to get a Mandala Inkable. So the Mandala Inkables, they're not in a separate category. They are in the 6x6 category. And again, they come in, oh, I've gone over, haven't I? Sorry. And they have an innie and an outie, okay? So you have the mask and the template. So what that means is you can use this separately. You can use this separately in a very similar way to we've just used our easy frame. But what it also means is you can use them together. Now you can see on mine I do have just little bits of stencil tape over the corners, and that is so I can just sort of tuck them in and stick it down if I want to, and then it's all together. Alright, which I'm not doing today, so that's fine. Right, so for this one I am going to be using, there are 7 different mandalas, okay, all of which, like I say, have an innie and an outie, so you can use the outer like the easy frame or whatever. So right, now I'm going to go back to my regular distress. I started using my regular distress when I was doing some prep for today, and in fairness, as I always say, and lots of you will say, yeah, she says that every time, I genuinely, because my oxides are in bigger ink pads and all that in front of me, and my mini distress are just up there in their tins, for whatever reason, I generally just grab my oxides, and they are good for easy coverage. But every time I then get my regular distress ink back out, I'm like, why do I not play with these as much? And I've done that again today and yesterday, so there you are. Right, so for this, I am going to go for, I am actually going to go back to Blueprint Sketch, I think, that we use, and then I'm going to go in with the brush. Now, I will say, lots of people ask me about the minis, and they do say, do they last, and whatever. I have never replaced one. I have never replaced one. Ever. And there will be people that say, well, yeah, well, she was using Distress Ink minis on her Chanda right back at the very beginning, 5 years ago. Yes, I was. 6 years ago. And I've never replaced one. So, there you are. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to work around the outside. Now, you're going to see why I'm just going around the outside of this mandala. I can't remember which mandala this is. Nowadays, the mandalas do come with a number in the corner. But mine are from the original batch, so they don't have a number in the corner, and therefore I can't remember what number it is. Again, if you wanted to stick this down, you absolutely could. Be no problem at all. So we're going to lift that off. Now, I think, personally, that looks awesome as it is, because I think it means you could put something in the middle. You could create a really sort of... Hang on, do you know what? I will just do it all so you can see it. Just with the ink that's left on. Okay, the mandalas are absolutely stunning. They're really easy to fussy cut out if you want. Now, the reason we have, another reason with the innie and the outie is if you put these together, say you want a clean edge, you don't want this edge all coming out. If you do exactly the same thing, whilst it's inside here, obviously you have a perfectly clean edge. Okay? It does look classy straight off the bat. You're absolutely right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this and I'm going to start doodling around with my pen. She's cross. Who? Lucy? No, that's Shireen, that's Lucy in the background of me. It's making noise at the minute. I think there's a cat in the garden. Right, so, you know, or it could be Steve the squirrel. You know, I actually do not consider myself to have a nemesis. I don't have a nemesis, which is good. That's nice. Lucy does. Lucy has a nemesis, and he's called Steve, and he's a squirrel, and he sits on the fence and makes faces at her because he thinks it's funny. He doesn't have to listen to her. Right. So I'm not going to go all the way around because, in the words of Neil Buchanan, I'm just doing this quick to show you. Okay. you can see I've started to doodle in the edge. I will then get my Posca This is a very sort of illuminated in the centre actually, it's really nice. And we're just going to add in some extra dots around here. Because we're very good at, for example, I've shown you a million ways where you can use, well not a million, not literally a million. Again, if you know, you know. Right, there's lots of different ways to use your mandalas and your inkables and things like that to create wonderful backgrounds. What I wanted to show is that they can also be the main image. You know, lots of the things we've shown you today, I think if you put just a sentiment over the middle, you could be done. You could doodle round, they'd be done. And all this sort of thing. So this was an idea, I think it was Annie that did this. She did a mandala where she layered it up and made it a, you know, a nice layered middle of the card. So what I did with my little prepperoo, and I was planning to cut this out, but I got so into showing you other things, I didn't. So I've done different layers of this mandala in different colours. Okay, but what I did was, I didn't cut around the colour, I cut around the white edge that it left. So for example, there's the yellow layer. So you can see I've already finished the doodling and stuff on these layers. I've missed one. So we'll go green first, and then with your yellow there, then with your orange there, and then with your red. And that is, for example, a completely layered up mandala in the different colours with the doodles on. Whatever, let me just see if I can lift that up to show you a little bit better. And all I'm planning to do with that, so just hold that because I have put foam on the back so you can see it is sort of layered up. And all I'm planning to do with that is put a one of the small word sentiments in the middle. So I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to show you the rest of that in full. That was my intention. I got carried away showing you all sort of inkable things, which is sort of the point of the day, so I'm not sure how much I should apologise for that. Never thought of using a stencil that way. Exactly, Jacqueline, and that's kind of the thing. We want to make sure that, you know, we are showing you all the different things that we can do with our inkables, what you can do with your inkables, so that you can really see the possibilities within the range we've provided. And like I say, we absolutely love them, hence why there are 85 6x6s, plus your texture discs, plus your Dinkables, and all of that sort of jazz. Okay, we have vastly run over the very first giveaway of the day, okay, will be going live as soon as I've finished here. Okay, don't worry if you're purchasing or things like that today, the giveaways are going to be a you choose job, okay? So, you know, don't worry about that, it's going to be you choose. So unless you're ordering literally every single inkable, you've still got a chance to win something you definitely want. Alright, so that's going on. Now the next live is at 12 with Sam. Sam's early today, which we're very excited about, and she is going to be playing with some of the Dinkables for you, which is why I didn't worry too much about focusing on them in this hour, in a bit. But like I say, what I'll also do is I'll put on a list of all the offers that are on today. If there's anything you can't find, please let us know. Okay, so have a fantastic day, and thank you so much for joining me for the launch of Inkables Day. Thank you. Bye.